Hi, greetings. It's me, Dr. Paul Gerhardt, and today I want to talk to you about a very important leadership topic that probably you've considered over and over again, and maybe you've even talked about it with your friends and family members. Maybe you've had a bully boss, someone that seemed to know everything, that didn't listen, that treated employees with disrespect or talked down to employees. How did that make you feel? Yeah, it probably made you feel so bad that you had one foot out the door, and you probably wanted to bring your talent and insights to another organization that truly appreciated you. If that sounds like you, this video is for you. A long time ago, I've had a lot of bully bosses growing in the grocery industry where I first started my career. And it really made me understand the phenomena of leadership, what not to do and how not to treat people. And that because I really noticed that sometimes that the leaders that I had that were kind, compassionate, would talk to you on an equal basis, would really gain a lot more loyal followers who were willing to do anything for those leaders. And then there were those leaders who were bullies, who were not approachable, and I call them tigers. Those people were the ones that people were scared to approach, but they were also scared to do anything wrong. And so when accidents would happen, or they were scared to ask, which would cause greater problems in the long run, they would hide their mistakes or do some things to sabotage their own job and eventually get fired. And I'm talking about the employees who worked for bully bosses when I talk about that stuff. So leaders really have the biggest influence over employee job satisfaction. There's all sorts of surveys about that. And that's why leadership training is so important. If you really think about the nature of the workplace, when you do a good job at doing the task, you eventually get promoted in your organization. But some organizations forget that it takes a different set of skills to lead people than it does to do the job that those employees are doing. So you may be very, very good at what you do, but if you have people that report to you, you really have to be a leader, and you cannot abuse your authority. So this video really is about talking about leadership authority. There's been a lot of research on this, and it was one of the things that motivated me to study management and get a master's degree in leadership, and then have my doctoral focus be on management and organizational behaviors, and specifically what great leaders do. And I've learned a lot over the years in teaching in doctoral programs, master's programs, and undergraduate programs that really help shape tomorrow's and today's leaders. So here's a few things that I've learned that hopefully you could help make your organization a little bit better by really recognizing it takes good training and thinking on a constant basis to do the right thing at all times. You've probably heard me say before, success really is all about how you spend your time and the quality of your decisions. Isn't that the truth? So if you're a leader and you know that you have the biggest influence on people, don't you want to have the right mindset and the right information to make the right decisions that make the biggest impact? The biggest controllable cost in most organizations is employee turnover. And most people quit their jobs because they quit their boss. And if you are seeing that you have people that are turning over or people that are limiting communication with you, guess what? If you're a leader, that's your fault. So don't be a boss, be a leader, and really learn how to be an effective leader. Consider your power. You really must understand the dynamics and the research that goes into it. A lot of organizations traditionally in America work from a top-down approach. The top bosses tell the middle bosses, and which tell each layer what they should do. Well, if that's the case and it's top down, how well are your customers ultimately being served, your end users of your product or services? If you've got a bottom-up approach where you have your customers saying, hey, these are my real needs, or here's the problem with your product or service, and then the people who are serving those customers are managing their bosses and their leaders, then the right systems can get changed and put in place to help make sure that customers have no reason to go to the competition because they're always completely satisfied, and best yet, they're telling their friends in service about the great quality products and services that they're getting. So happy employees tend to deliver higher levels of performance, better quality products and services. So leaders need to put those right systems in place and have the right perspective on how leadership really works. So a traditional top-down theory holds the philosophy that leadership authority is based on position and social hierarchy. I'm the boss, that's why, just do it. And then power flows to the highest level to the lowest. And so you got people at the bottom that are trying to make more money, so they want to grow in the organization, and they're willing to get beaten up by their bosses who are abusing their power. And that's an unfortunate circumstance that it doesn't have to be like that. The smartest organizations are realizing that people are people. You hire the best people, you empower the best people, and you give them the support and resources they need to be effective. Doesn't that sound a lot better? So recognizing that a top-down approach can be hazardous to the health of an organization. Get away with it for a while, but ultimately, if you don't have satisfied customers, that creates a niche or an opening for your competition to have greater market share. Your market share that, if you had the right style of leadership in place, could have been changed. So really think about how you behave with other people, because that's going to affect the success of your team and ultimately the success of your organization. From a theoretical point of view, let's take a look at what happens. Most businesses are started by an owner, and some owners recognize that they can hire other people to bring in to run their companies, and so owners get to transfer their power to other people. Like in many publicly traded organization, owners trade power to a board of directors, and then the board appoints executives to manage those organizations, and then the executives give authority to the managers, and the managers give authority to the employees to make the best decision. Well, the power actually comes from the U.S. Constitution, which gives people the right to have property, so they become owners, and then that process starts. The board of directors, top executives, managers, to supervisors, and then to the frontline workers. So there really is some theory about why that works. We just recognize that that's just the way it works. We don't really think about it very often, but it's just kind of a natural phenomenon, a top-down approach. A paradigm shift, or a different way of looking at things, is a bottom-up view, and it's recognizing that power flows from below because people should have the power to reject what their bosses are saying to them by saying no. And in doing so, they're rejecting it because they want their organization to really be successful ultimately, or they're sabotaging the organization because they don't feel like they are being empowered to make the best decisions possible. So as you look at theory of power, you really have to recognize how it really exists. In order for a person really to accept authority, people must really understand what's being asked of them. They must really see how what's being asked of them fits within the scope of organizational goals. The person really must believe that the order really is compatible with his or her personal interests, and the person really must be mentally and physically able to comply with it. So you're motivated or not motivated based on those basic criteria. So in a bottom-up view, leaders really must make sure that each of those zones of acceptance are in place, or they'll resist it, and they may do so in a way that actually could be very hostile. that's a sign for leaders to take a step back and ask him or herself, what can I do differently? So we always need to be gauging what's going on between people. Sometimes it's not about you, the leader. Sometimes it's about what's going on with the individual personally at home or within the team. But it's always an opportunity for a leader to act appropriately and applying a proper emotional intelligence. Hey, what's going on? You seem like this really bothers you. Can we talk about it? Taking a mature approach, a person-to-person approach, really is almost always the best. And I say almost always because I'm sure there's always an exception to the rule. I really believe that treating people respectfully with understanding and kindness is always the right thing to do. From a top-down versus a bottom-down view, people really must feel like they've got a duty to comply and obey, and that goes both ways. If I told my boss that I really need her to do something because it will help the organization, probably she should see that it really is in her best interest to do so. One of my favorite theoretical philosophies is about servant leadership. Robert Greenleaf in the 1970s wrote about how important it is for leaders to recognize the leader-follower relationship. Servant leadership is exactly what it is. It's about really caring and wanting to help other people. And it's about giving service to other people first. That's your biggest priority. And it's about really recognizing how important building trust is as a leader and working for the mutual common good. And that's really what this theory of servant leadership is. It's a very simple but powerful philosophy if you think about it. If you have a boss that's empowering you to help him or her know what they need to do, what kind of resources and support you need, of course you're going to be able to do your job better. So if you want to be a servant leader, which I highly recommend that you choose, if you're a leadership style, because you get to choose your way of being, make sure you really think about access. Are you available? Are you giving two-way communication that's really listening more than you are talking? And then finding ways to give support. Don't find ways to tell your employees no. Find ways to tell your employees yes. That's how you continue to grow your organization. If you've got a limited mindset that there's not enough resources, you are a freaking problem. Write that down. So with access, people really need to have their leaders available. You got to be present. You got to be not micromanaging, of course, but have an open door policy. And access really is about being able to recognize your body language is inviting or not inviting. Your body language is very, very powerful. Smile when you see people. Be genuinely interested in helping people at every opportunity. Recognize how you treat people and recognize how you are being received in the body language of other people. Body language is very, very powerful. Facial expressions, super powerful. Read them, ask about it, recognize them, and help. Communication really isn't always the best type of communication, but it does have its purpose. But people all the time find that they get their feathers ruffled because they put their own meta language into a communication. It doesn't have to be that way. Assume the best in others as much as possible. Try to find face-to-face meetings in order to communicate with people. Lay the groundwork for practicing excellent communication. Make sure that you're always keeping people in the loop, and then you're closing the loop appropriately so that people know that what's being requested is getting done. That's the follow-through that effective leaders must always be doing. Looking for opportunities to share the right communication and opportunities to gather the right information so the best decisions can be made. And then with support, people always need to feel like they're being supported. And when you see something that's not going right, give feedback, constructive feedback in a way that they're going to receive it well. Don't say, Bob, you're such an idiot, take a look at this. You say, Bob, I need some understanding about why you did this. It looks like we're going the wrong direction. Can you help me understand this? Wouldn't it be better to do this? Perspective, it looks like this might work better. What do you think? You know, how you say things matters. If you're talking down to people, they're probably going to push back. And when you're having an ego war of push and pull, you're probably absolutely going nowhere. You've probably seen the tug of wars that happen. That I don't want to get any ego fights. I want to be there to support people. And so as a leader, I'm leading from behind and helping people know what it is that they need to know. So being a supportive leader probably is going to help you be more effective. You know, find ways to praise. Write that down. It really is important to give genuine praise when you see good work happening, because that's going to get more good work. It's a simple concept. So servant leadership really is about encouraging trust, having lots of effective listening, lots of listening. Show that you are actively listening and empathetically listening. You're listening from your heart, you're listening with your eyes, and you're listening with your ears, of course. But when you incorporate each of those organs into listening, you're going to be able to make better decisions and be able to give the right support to the people that need the support. So it really is important to have that upside down pyramid approach. You know, customers and clients at the very top of the upside down pyramid. You know, they're the ones who are going to be telling their friends and family about the great products or services that they have, because the frontline leaders are serving them, and those frontline workers are working hard because they're supported, because they feel like what they do makes a positive difference, because their managers under them are supporting them and helping them solve problems and removing obstacles out of the way and listening to find ways to support those people. And then likewise, the top executives support those managers and supervisors by helping everybody in the organization stay clear, on track with keeping with the mission and the strategies that have been developed, because everything is about the quality of decision and unity of vision, as you've probably heard me say in other videos before. Those are some themes with leadership that you're always going to hear. Another approach is Bill George's from Harvard, authentic leadership. And it really is important to be authentic. You know, you don't want to fake people out. You want to be true to people. We all have BS meters inside the bologna sandwich. And with people, we know when we're trying to fake people out. We know when we're not authentic. So you have got to be true to your core values. You need to align yourself, of course, with the organization's values, but have the courage and the self-discipline to speak in a way that is respectful but true about what you need, and allow people to do the same thing too, because we need others to see things differently and do things better. And you can only do it if you have the necessary trust that's in place. And the key to doing this is single vision, of course. People really are purpose driven. If they see how what they do makes a positive difference, then they are going to probably be more motivated to give their best and really help things continue to grow and change and satisfy everybody involved. The philosophy of participative leadership is closely in line with that. Leaders truly must involve people in order to make the best decisions possible. That's what leaders do. They make decisions. But they don't always know what they don't know. And people that feel like they're truly involved because they are making a positive difference can help share different perspectives in order to put systems into place that are better shaped and formed, and the right resources are brought into it. So major decisions should not be made without asking stakeholders about what they need, what kind of challenges would happen. If you got ego in the way, that's going to block things out. If you are scared to ask questions because people will think weak of you, that's a sign of weak leadership. So really involve people in and create an environment in the decision-making processes where people are free to disagree. And conflict is great for helping new systems emerge if you manage it right. And since they have the biggest, most amount of power in organizations, they really have to take a step back, pull their ego out, and then manage the conflict differently. One of my favorite things to say when I hear people that are in a disagreement with me is, I see you see things differently than me. I really want to understand your perspective. Then I listen, and then I show that I understand their perspective, and I try to find a way to involve their perspective in a major way, and change mine if it is not as good of an idea, or find a way to incorporate both ideas. As many ideas as possible that truly thinks about the full system is really important. Just because you're a leader doesn't mean you're right. Some leaders think that just because they're right and they do have the power to make all the decisions, that it's going to be better. Sometimes leaders don't have all the information. Sometimes followers don't have all the information. But a leader can really screw things up by putting his or her ego into things and not really listen to the ideas of other people, and likewise respecting those people. So in the workplace, there always is kind of a continuum of empowerment that takes places, and not giving people the right amount of power at the right time really could lead to losses ultimately. Abraham Lincoln said something brilliant. Nearly anyone can stand adversity, but if you want to test a person's true character, give him power. So it really is important to recognize that sometimes people just lose their minds and abuse power. T.S. Eliot wrote, "Half of the harm that is done in this world is caused by people who have power and want to feel important. They do not mean to do harm. They are simply absorbed in the useless struggle to think well of themselves." So ego really can change the way that people think and actually harm the organization. So really be thinking about how your actions as a leader can have a positive or a negative consequence on an organization. Be gentle with people. Be understanding. Be kind with people. We all are soft inside, right? In 1954, Raven and French helped us understand power a little bit more, and recognize that there's position power and then people power. And in that, of course, organizations give power to their leaders, which they call legitimate power. But really how they yield that power makes a difference. If they are being coercive, that's using punishment, people are going to probably be scared to think outside the lines and draw outside the lines and think outside the box and go above and beyond. So there's consequences. You get immediate results from using coercive power, but ultimately finding ways to reward and praise and allow to grow as experts. These are the things that really help build organizations. So power really is about communication and yielding authority properly. Failing to have effective two-way communication really can make the organization weaker. Think about how you may be putting up roadblocks. If your communication style is to talk down to people, you are probably making your organization a little bit weaker. You might find that you have people who are scared to approach you and share their full feelings because of the way that you yield your power. So you really, you don't want people to be resentful of you. If you are talking to people and not with people, you're making your organization a little bit weaker, right? So help involve people in the communication process. Listen more than you speak. Get ideas, really think and reflect, and show that you're thinking and reflecting on what your followers are saying. They may not be right, but at least you'll understand where they're coming from, and you'll have more ideas to help you make better decisions. Quality of outputs is about quality of inputs, right? So with with leadership, you have to remember that it's all about psychology, how you see yourself. It's about skill. You make sure that the communication that you use is doesn't show that you know it all or you have a superior attitude about people. You know that you have the power to make decisions, but you have to recognize that power really could be shared. If you are being sarcastic, that's poison in relationships. That breaks down trust. If you're ridiculing people, that's poison. That breaks down trust. If you're saying things that are cruel, that definitely breaks down trust, and you're probably making the organization weaker. So you need to be a competent leader and do the right thing. You don't know everything just because you have a leadership position. You know a lot, but so do your followers. That might be a paradigm shift, and people may have turned this video off already because I'm kind of in your face about the fact that when organizations fail, it's because leaders have allowed it to be that way with how they are. You hire the best, somehow they become incompetent? No. You hire the best people and you haven't listened to them enough, or you haven't given your followers what they need at the right time. And that really is a psychological contract that you probably are screwing up. So really be looking at it. Most people quit their bosses rather than just quitting the organization because you as a leader are not being effective. I know you've heard that before, but it really is true. So some guidelines for two-way communication: just stop talking. Put the talker at ease. Show that you really want to listen. Attitude is everything. Remove any kind of distractions. Don't be looking at your phone. Don't be reading, thinking you can multitask. That's just so disrespectful, and it's really not conveying the right message. You give your undivided attention, great eye contact, nod at the appropriate time, and then paraphrase back what you heard. You know, really empathize with the person. Show that you're feeling what the other person is feeling, and then patience pays huge dividends in communication. So be patient. Listen more than you talk. Hold your temper. If you're hearing something that isn't in alignment with what you want to hear, if you're going off on somebody and showing anger, you're probably going to shut down the communication, therefore put barriers in the relationship. Is that what you really want? Or do you want that person to continue to grow with the organization? Go easy on argument and criticism. You know, be flexible. Ask the right questions to get a better understanding. Encourage clarification, but gosh darn it, just stop talking and really listen. Pull your ego out of it. Just because you're the leader, it doesn't make you perfect or infallible. Really, I know I've talked on and on, but dissatisfied employees will sabotage the organization, and that's your fault. For not giving an employee what they need. Empower people to make the best decisions possible. Change the systems and put the right systems in place. But listening is one of the best things to do, especially when it's combined with patience and you're practicing being a servant leadership, allowing your followers to help you understand what you need to do to make sure that you can help those people be the best they could be. Thank you so much for your valuable time and watching the video all the way to the end. I really appreciate it. And more importantly than that, I hope that you have a great day, because only you get to choose how you feel about it. I'm Dr. Paul Gerhardt.